Welcome back to Simplifying the State. I'm Adam Watson.
I'm Nicholas Perrin.
On today's episode, we have a couple new things to talk about. We're going to be talking about Kamala Harris's media blitz. We're going to be talking about the we're going to be talking about the politize. I can't say it. You say it. You say it.
Politicization of the hurricane.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Okay, we're going to be talking about that, and then we're going to be talking about Harris distancing herself, possibly distancing herself from President Biden. So the first thing, her media blitz. So basically, this week she has been on many different media outlets. She went on 60 Minutes, she went on The View, she went on a couple of podcasts, not ours. I mean, not everything can be perfect.
Boo.
Exactly. So she went on a couple podcasts. She went on Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and then Tim Walz also he went on the Jimmy Kimmel Show. So I mean, we're like 30 days out from the election, and I don't know. Do you think this will have a impact on public perception of her, like this media blitz? I mean, she's also hosting a town hall tonight, which is Thursday. She's holding a town hall where she will be taking questions. We've yet to see that, as it hasn't happened yet. But I mean, what do you think this could mean for her campaign?
I think it could mean it's like what she did when she became the Democratic nominee. She's kind of I don't really want to say hogging, but definitely taking up a lot of media space, and that seems to be her strategy
Right.
going forward. Because if people are only going to be hearing about Harris, then they'll hear about what she wants them to hear about, like
Right.
her positive aspects.
Right. Right. I think for the campaign, I mean, obviously, I'm only 16 and I don't have much experience with a political campaign, but if I was running it, I would want most of the coverage to be about Harris, and then I'd want like little bits of Trump to break through. Like, I'd want the things that people find the most negative about him to break through on the media coverage, but then I'd want the rest of it to just be about Harris. Because I mean, in recent polls, as we've talked about, the top issue for voters when it comes to Harris is usually that they do not know much about her or her policy positions. And so my guess is that this is an attempt to get her out there, get her talking about her policy positions um, in these last 30 days, so that hopefully she can either gain, either increase or take the lead in the battleground states. Uh, Public perception on this has been, I mean, somewhat mixed. The 60 Minutes interview was a little, I mean, public perception wise, it was a little shaky, um, particularly when she was asked about how she would pay for a couple things in her new economic plan. She talked about raising taxes on the rich, but some people feel that her answer was a bit shaky. The rest of them have been generally positive. She was drinking Miller Lite, I think, with Stephen Colbert on his late shows, and the Harris campaign is probably hoping that will probably be the breakthrough thing of the week. All right, so moving on, we're going to be talking about Hurricane Helene and how that has kind of impacted politics in the United States. So, uh, obviously, most people probably know that the hurricane made landfall. It went up into parts of Florida, and then it really did damage in North Carolina and Georgia, in the rural parts. So Donald Trump and more of the far right MAGA people have kind of come out and said that they think that the administration is doing a bad job when it comes to providing relief to the victims of this hurricane. They've been saying that they're not getting proper resources, that they're not getting any money, that there was one theory that was being floated by Donald Trump that the administration was withholding funds to Republican areas. Now, recently, the Republican governor of Georgia has come out against these claims. Several high-ranking state officials have come out against these claims that the Biden administration or that FEMA is not providing the necessary aid. Uh, Nicholas, what do you think about this attempt to politicize this thing like a hurricane?
Well, it's obviously in a little bad taste to have a disaster or tragedy like this be turned into something used for political play, and I don't think it'll have a huge impact on the election, even if it is successful in slightly diminishing support for Harris, because it's already close to an semi close to election day, and most people will be able to decipher that it's not exactly true what the Republicans are saying. So
Right,
yeah.
right. I mean, in the final weeks, most undecided voters don't usually make up. A lot of undecided voters don't usually make up their minds until like the week or like maybe a week and a half before election day. And so typically, whatever the big breakout national story is something that's is going to be like a giant thing that plays into their decision. So my guess is that this could be an attempt by the campaigns to possibly make this the story, although we're more than a week out from the election, so I'm not sure if that makes sense timing wise. But yeah, I agree. I think it's in bad taste, given the disaster of the hurricane, to try to use that for political purposes. And again, the statements they've made are false. The governors of North Carolina and Georgia have said that they've been getting the necessary funds and relief from FEMA, and so it's just false claims and poor taste. So recently, there have been possible signs that Harris might be distancing herself from Joe Biden on a range of uh, issues. She hasn't really publicly said that, although a couple weeks ago, when she was unveiling her economic plans, she did take a different approach. When it comes to capital gains tax, she wants to increase capital gains tax, but not as much as Biden wanted to. Um, in the 60 Minutes interview, I think it was the 60 Minutes interview, she was asked whether or not she regretted anything that the Biden administration did, and she was kind of given the opportunity to break up from them on something. She said that she doesn't really regret anything. I mean, obviously, when you're the vice president to an administration and that administration still has some work to do, obviously you're probably not gonna say, "Oh yeah, I regret this, I regret this, I regret that. We shouldn't have done this." Um, but I mean, what do you think? Do you think Harris might break with him on any major issues like Gaza or something like that?
Well, for Gaza, she seems to be uh, uh, mostly on the same page as Biden is.
Right. At
Maybe a
least
little
publicly.
bit, huh?
At least publicly.
Yeah, yeah. She has said it's a humanitarian like crisis catastrophe. I don't remember the exact quote, but something along those lines. Um, which is basically what Biden has been saying. So on the Gaza issue, at least publicly, like you said, not a whole lot of difference there. And when she was asked if she were to have done anything differently rather than what Biden and his administration did, she said not a thing comes to mind. So, but she also has been saying that she isn't Joe Biden.
Right.
So it's kind of half and half. Like she's trying to give the impression that she's a different person, she makes different decisions, but she's being pretty vague on what those decisions are.
Right. I think a standout kind of message is that she's not Joe Biden, but she's also not Donald Trump, kind of trying to paint herself as the change candidate. Because I think it's a good strategy because, I mean, right now, when it comes to who would be viewed more popular when it comes to change, I think recent some poll I was looking at the other day, Harris had a little bit of a lead on who is better when it comes to change, and so I think that that message is probably breaking through, which is what they want, which is that they want uh, her to be like the future and Trump to be like the past, is what I think they're probably trying to go for. Uh, so and yeah, I think that she's probably going to continue with that stuff, kind of not really publicly um, breaking with him on any big issues, but also talking about how, she has a different vision for the future than Joe Biden, uh, and she also has a very different future from Donald Trump, and so I think that that's probably going to be a standout message of her campaign. Okay, thank you so much for listening to Simplifying the State. We'll be back next week with a new episode, so stay tuned for that. Talk to you then.